But first, the Prime Minister under fire for recognising Palestinian state. But first, I can't close the week without again highlighting what many people, more expert than me on global affairs and the ways of diplomacy, have called the worst modern decision of any Australian government, Prime Minister or Foreign Affairs Minister, in history. Now, of course, I'm referring to the slack-jawed way our leader has decided to reward the terror group Hamas with the decision to recognise a Palestinian state with a visit to the UN to put our stamp on it. Now, one can only wonder at the tone of the phone calls between other left-leaning leaders like France's Macron and the UK's Starmer in the lead up to this. Since the foolish announcement on Monday that went like this:
Australia will recognise the state of Palestine. Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own, predicated on the commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority.
To the backslapping, thanks from Hamas and Penny Wong's contribution. Have a look.
And we know that two states is the key. It is the key to a just peace for Israelis and Palestinians alike. We also know this is not the end. It is just the beginning.
Can you believe this pair? Now, midweek, the Prime Minister was forced to explain what exactly he and 89-year-old Palestinian Authority leader Mahmoud Abbas actually agreed to, only for experts tried to explain to our political leaders that, look, Abbas has little support in Gaza and that anyone trusting his promises was living in La La Land. Also midweek, the Nine newspapers quoted a Hamas leader, Sheikh Hassan Youssef, praising Australia's decision, only to discover this bloke's been in jail since 2023 without any means of communication to the outside world. Well, that gave the Prime Minister a stick to hit his critics with.
What that should be is a warning to the media of being very careful about the fact that Hamas will engage in propaganda, because what is happening is the international community are united about isolating Hamas, about supporting a peaceful way forward.
Fancy the Prime Minister warning us about Palestinian propaganda. Now, sadly for the Prime Minister, and dangerously for all of us in Australia, this sorry saga at week's end saw the American ambassador to Israel and one-time presidential wannabe, Mike Huckabee. He bobbed up on the ABC last night saying he'd talked to President Trump about Australia's decision and criticising himself the foolishness of it. Have a look.
Well, the US is disappointed that nations like Australia and UK and others have decided to pick this particular time to unilaterally recognize a second state. I think it's the timing has been very hurtful to any prospects of negotiating some settlement in Gaza with Hamas. There's an enormous level of disappointment and some disgust.
Huckabee was right, and of course this followed comments from the United States Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, earlier in the week about the cabal of nations falling for this and pointing out France's Emmanuel Macron was responsible for peace talks involving Hamas falling over.
Meaningless, right? It's symbolic, and they're doing it primarily for one reason, and that is their internal politics, their domestic politics. Yeah, the truth of the matter is that the future of that region is not going to be decided by some UN resolution. It's not going to be decided by some press release by a prime minister or a president from some country. It's going to be decided on the ground. In fact, but all these statements are meaningless. Like they're not going to change anything.
Pretty clear there what Rubio was saying. So here we have Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Albo and Wong, courting votes from the Harbour Bridge March set and the Greens, putting stress on the United States alliance to support a fanciful notion that nobody in the world, no one in the Middle East thinks is ever going to happen. Now, this makes the Prime Minister's decision not to travel to Townsville to pay tribute to the memories of a garrison town that saved us from the Japanese. It makes that decision even worse.